I swear I saw Iggy Pop, because he doesn't live here. I think he lives in Florida.
Yeah, he does.
I swear last year in Birmingham, I saw him walking around a couple times.
That's possible.
But this guy was so dressed up, like, I was like, it's either an Iggy Pop impersonator or it's him walking around.
I cannot confirm that, but having run into Dustin Hoffman in downtown Birmingham.
Oh, good point. I forgot about
that was the fucking weirdest thing that's ever happened to me.
Were we going to a movie? Was that outside the theater?
It was outside the Birmingham, the
Palladium?
The Birmingham 8.
Oh, the 8. Okay.
The old one.
Yeah.
And I was, I forgot why I was down there. I think I was waiting to go to a movie. That's what it was. And I'm like, hey, that guy out of that car, he's just standing in front of the theater looking at the marquee. That looks like Dustin Hoffman.
I'm walking here.
It's like, that can't be Dustin Hoffman. And so I called Matt, and I said, Matt, how would I tell if I was looking at Dustin Hoffman? And Matt said, well, he's really short. He's got a really big nose. I'm like, well, yeah, he's really short, and he does have a really big nose. I'm like, that's fucking Dustin Hoffman. And I got closer and I realized it was absolutely Dustin Hoffman, and there was a Metro car waiting for him. And so I couldn't help it. I just walked up and I go, hey, I'm a big fan. I was just watching Midnight Cowboy the other night. And actually, I think we chatted about Midnight Cowboy for a minute, which was kind of weird that he actually took the bait. And then I started to go, yeah, I do a radio show. And then I was like, oh, God, forget that. I'm just a really big fan. It's really cool to see. What brings you here? And he goes, well, I got a layover, and I wanted to check out this theater for a while. I'm a big fan of old movie theaters. And so I was just checking it out. And I was like, oh, wow, well, it's really cool to see you. But it was really funny.
Nerdy.
I thought I was, for a second, I was like, oh, maybe I can get him to come on the air. And then I realized before I got it all, I was like, what am I doing? He does not want to do an interview. Although it would have been a way of weaseling in.
Well, you talked to him longer than Bruce Hornsby?
Yes, I would say.
Don't weasel in.
Although the Bruce Hornsby conversation seemed so promising, I thought Bruce Hornsby and I were friends. Sure. I seriously thought we were going to be buddies because we were next to each other at the Magic Pistons game when he pulled the Uncle Bob routine on me. I mean, we're literally talking to each other, and then he suddenly, out of clear blue sky, goes, "Hey, doesn't that look like Uncle Bob down there?" Because he was with two kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah." And the next thing you know,
Dad.
He was paying almost no attention to me at all, and I think I signed off or something. Well, hey, nice meeting you, Bruce.
Did you ever check his genealogy to see if he has a Robert?
that was done. I think people did. We had people madly searching on the internet trying to find an Uncle Bob.
We are so embarrassed for you.
And I can't remember what the verdict was. I think the verdict was no. There was no Uncle Bob.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
So it made no sense. But I swear, I thought we were friends. I thought things are going swimmingly with this conversation.
Bruce Hornsby has two brothers. Bob and John.
Whoa, there is an Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
It could be.
Uncle Bob, who's a realtor.
Do you have a picture of this? He's got a picture. Drew, do you remember?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't remember.
He owns Hornsby Realty, so he's got to have a picture there. Let's find out.
I just remember thinking, nice staying focused on our conversation, Bruce.
I know.
Some guy that looks like Uncle Bob walks by and you just have to blurt it out to your kids who aren't even talking to me right now. You are talking to me.
Nothing against Bruce Hornsby, but I would think Dustin Hoffman would be less likely to talk to you.
Dustin Hoffman was very friendly. And you know who else was a dick? Speaking of very brief confrontations, was Dan Aykroyd. When I was in Boston, they opened a... Was he Planet Hollywood, or was he involved in a Hard Rock or a Planet Hollywood? I can't remember which. It was one or the other. And they had a grand opening, and they invited everyone. And so I was like totally invited, and had the pass or whatever you needed. So I did all the stuff, and then Aykroyd, I believe, disappeared with some WBCN people. Now, BCN was #1 in Boston. And WAF was clearly second, and they basically fought us for everything, and so it was not unusual. I was not surprised to see Dan Aykroyd go off with them. In fact, I think Dan Aykroyd knew the afternoon guy Mark Parento, who it turned out was a molester. Later went to prison for molesting a 15-year-old.
Aykroyd's complicit?
Aykroyd is complicit.
What an asshole.
Went up with my friend. He's friends with a child molester. Anyway, so then I'm watching Aykroyd every step, everywhere he's going, because I have a portable recorder, and I just want to get a brief interview or an ID or something.
You have a DAT?
That's all I wanted.
It's like a DAT.
And
recorder?
I had just, it was a DAT recorder. And I knew how to operate this thing because those things are kind of flaky sometimes. I had just taken one to an Elvis Costello album release thing, which, normally morning guys don't go to stuff like that because they're at night.
Right.
But Elvis was doing his in the afternoon. I got a killer ID from Elvis. He did, this is Elvis Costello, and you're listening to Two Angry Young Men, Drew and Zip on WAF. And it was a great idea. It used to be in the front of my demo tape, actually, when we left Boston and got the job in Phoenix. That was the first thing on the tape was the Elvis ID, and it was killer. And it had the levels went wailing to the right when he said two angry young men, but you could really understand him. And he was totally cool, although it looked like he signed my CD "Don't Fart." I swear to God. 2 days later, I was showing it to somebody, and they go, "What does that say?" And I was like, it looks like it says "don't something." And does that say "don't fart"? I was like, what? The fuck?
That makes me like Elvis Costello more.
I know, and multiple people thought the same. They were like, that does look like it says that, but it couldn't say that, could it? And my program director had one he had also signed, which said hey, Cindy, good to see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he didn't just write "don't fart" on everyone's CD. If he wrote it, it was only on mine.
Wait, what did you, Let's Rock?
I think I still have it. I'll have to find that. We'll have to take a look at it. But he was totally cool. So I went into this Hard Rock Cafe thing kind of cocky, I'm gonna talk to Elvis Costello the other day, my idol. I'm gonna fucking talk to Aykroyd, another one of my idols. So anyway, I watched him. I was I was a stalker, and he was it looked like, ooh, he seems like he's getting near the exit. This is not good. And so I see him walking out the door, and I'm standing near him at this point, and I'm like, hey, Dan, I'm from WAF. Could I just get 1 minute? That's all I need is a minute. He's like, sure. I just got to do this first. You know how Aykroyd talks. And so he's talking to somebody, and then I'm maybe another 20 minutes go by, and I'm like, hey, Dan, don't forget about me. He goes, no, I got you, man. You just want a minute.
Stop friggin' following me.
I have the recorder going this whole time, so I had proof the next day that he had said this. And so next thing you know, he's doing it like a hasty exit. Oh. And so I start moving hasty, and I'm like, hey, Dan, could I just hit you up for an ID? And he goes, sorry, Mac, don't have time. I got to run. Something like that. And so the next morning, I was just rewinding it, playing it over again. Sorry, Mac, I don't have time. Sorry, Mac, I don't have time. Just playing that over and over on the morning show. But he was kind of a dick. And also, it was suggested to me that he was pulling the BCN. I like the child molester station. Oh, I'm aligned with the child molesters. So
they're my kind of people.
I'm a complicit, and complicity is number one. So we'll see you, Mac.
See you, Mac.
Yeah, he was a real.
See
dick.
you, Mac.
It was really a bummer. And I'd been there for 2.5 hours. It was 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Just waiting for him, basically.
Yeah. Oh no. The whole time. That was the only reason I was there. I could give a fuck about any of the speeches anyone made. Nobody cared. The TV stations picked that stuff up. But no, that was a big bummer. Did not go well.